like they would just hand out black belts to kids, as long as they've been doing,
as long as you paid the monthly fees.
Yeah, and you've been doing it a certain amount of years, but as far as that Taekwondo stuff, there's no punching in that, or was it?
You could punch to the chest gear, so not really, but like you could, like it was a 3-minute round.
Okay,
you could kick someone in the head, and like the higher level you are, it's just all headshots for the most part
with kicks.
Yeah, so like back kicks and hook kicks and roundhouse kicks were like the
Taekwondo is like crazy when it got like that's like that's one of those martial arts that not really effective in and of itself, but as like a piece of the puzzle, like having that dexterity in your legs and that ability to get your feet up high.
Yeah.
Do some of those like crazy like hook kicks or question mark kicks, whatever they're like, you know what I mean? Like
I tell you the biggest thing I got from it was discipline.
Right.
Because you got to stay flexible, which means you got to stretch all the time.
Yeah.
And when you're like 16 and 17,
right,
like you don't give a shit about that stuff.
No. Yeah.
But like then you go to a tournament and like people would get knocked out.
Yeah.
But if you were in like a street fight,
right,
like you try to throw a hook kick at someone, you know, and they grab you and knock you to the ground. It's like, but it was a good. You're getting used to combat. Yeah. But it's like very strict rules.
Yeah.
You know, so
you're so light on your feet and on the balls of your feet too that it's, you know, I guess it's hard to deal with that kind of rush, you know, that just somebody trying to tackle you, right?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of shit you're trying to do. But fuck, man, if you want to, if you're throwing the first shot and you just fucking brain somebody with some crazy kick, like, you know, it's that's I remember my cousin got knocked out when he was younger. He was like walking home or something, just coming to me, and he ran into some guy who was like a Taekwondo guy, and he got like fucking wheel kicked in the head on the street. Knocked out, you know, the guy just wheel kicked him, you know, and I don't even think he had thrown a punch or anything. It was just the guy just set up this wheel kick, and like who's expecting that kind of shit to happen in the street fight, right?
Oh man, like
you know?
Again, like the flexibility you need, and it's like it's too much of a precision technique, like to kick someone in the face. It's hard to punch somebody in the face.
Yeah,
but like lining up that kick, it looks super impressive. But
I've tried to practice that. Have you ever seen Rogan doing his turning side kick on a heavy bag? Yeah, like he can fucking clap a bag with a turning side kick. So like I got a big Muay Thai bag at home, and I try to hit that sometimes, and it's a crazy powerful kick.
It really is, yeah. We that was so basically in Taekwondo the answer to a roundhouse kick is a back kick. Yeah, because they're turning their body, but they're opened. Yeah, and then you are turning the opposite way, so you're getting it on the arm, right? And then you can blast them. Yeah, but I'll say the trick that we always used was like line your knee up with your chest, because wherever your knee points is where your foot's going to end up hitting. Yeah. So like if you want to kick somebody with like a roundhouse kick, you just aim your knee at their chin, and then you release it, and it's the same with the back kick except you're straightening out. So if the higher you can bring your knee up when you're turning, super powerful kick. The best one is like a push kick, like where you just bring your knee up and push it on someone's chest.
Yeah, the Spartan kick.
Exactly. Yeah. 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 But like a roundhouse kick, if you hit someone's elbow or you hit someone's knee, you're damaged real bad. Like
I've hit some guys with the Spartan kick on the streets before, like in policing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could see that being super effective because like you knock them down.
Yeah, like under the right circumstances. Yeah. Yeah. Are we recording now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like like there was this we got this call, and there was this kid, he was like a teenager. He had a spade shovel, and he was in his house fucking beating the fucking shit out of the house with a spade shovel, like carving up the walls, like just doing as much damage as he could. He lost his mind. And then when I rolled up, his mom called 911, and he'd like beaten up his grandmother too and stuff, like just crazy stuff.
Jesus.
When I rolled up, he was knocking out the windows, like the bay windows of this bungalow house.
How old is he?
And he's probably like 16 or 17.
Oh, shit, okay.
So, decent enough size of a kid. And so it was also winter out, I remember. So there was like kind of this runway like leading to his front door, and there's snow on each side. So when somebody has a shovel in their hands, like that can kill. If you get fucking hit in the head with a shovel, like you can die from that. So like really your pistol comes out in that situation. So I got my gun out, and it's dark out. I'm pointing at him, and he's got the shovel like in a batter stance like this. And I'm like, drop the shovel, drop the shit, right? And he's not listening. And I got my flashlight. It's dark out. I'm pointing my flashlight at the pistol. I was like, I'll shoot you. You don't drop that shovel. Like I was like, this is a gun, And I'm like pleading with this kid to, And so, anyways, his mom, like the bay windows broke open. His mom's in the window, and she's like, "Don't shoot him. He's deaf." And I'm like, "Oh shit!" I was like, I'm like, "Fuck." Well, he's deaf. He can still kill me with that fucking shovel.
Yeah.
And so anyways, I just lined him up. I was like, you know what, fuck this kid. And my buddy Riley was running up as my backup. So as soon as I heard my backup was there, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put on a little show for my backup here. And because he was like, I got a taser, right? And I was like, not enough time to explain. Like, we're not tasering this kid either, So I'm like, sometimes you just gotta fucking nut up and put the gun away and deal with what you got. I mean, technically, like me doing this would be the wrong play, like safety wise, but I was like, fuck it. So I holster up and I run at him, and I go to throw the kick. I'm sliding on the ice, go boom. I kick him right on the chest with that Spartan fucking front kick, and he just goes. He falls down, and I get up on top of him, and Riley comes in on the back, and he jumps on. He's like, I got him. I was like, Riley's deaf, man. He's chill. Like he's deaf. So I hook him up and handcuff him and take him back to my car. I can't remember too much after that of what we did, but yeah, the house was wrecked. It was wrecked. But yeah, that was like we were laughing afterwards. He was like, I couldn't believe that. He's like, you almost kicked that guy on the roof of the house. But it was just the right move, because I'm like, you know what? If he swings that shovel, I want to hit him and like I was strong. Like I'm pretty sure if I connect with this guy, I'm going to knock him to the ground. Yeah. So if he swings with the shovel, I got the leg out, and I can at least put up the hands or whatever, and catch the shovel. But
this is Sparta. Bam.
Yeah. But he was just like,
Jesus,
and I'm like running down the from the pitcher's mound to like home base there, ready to hit him with it. But it was funny.
Like, do you guys do training, like hand-to-hand combat training or jiu-jitsu or anything?
Yeah, like we were, like I remember back at training, like we would, we'd have, I don't know what they do now, but we would have like grappling, like a couple of months of grappling stuff, like rudimentary jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
This was 2007, so like even back then there wasn't like, I was a huge MMA fan, so I knew like what like Rogan would explain on TV.
Yeah,
like I knew how to.
That definitely helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So like I would beat everybody in the class at like in grappling. Like we'd have like King of the Square type thing where you gotta like get the guy out of the square. And like I remember I went through everybody in the troop, like just basic wrestling, just wrestling them out of the square. I went through everybody until I got to the last guy in our troop, and he was 49 years old. He's an old guy. His name was Mitch. And man, like when Mitch came in, I was so exhausted. He was dancing around me like Muhammad Ali. Like, wow. Like I was like, this guy's got crazy football. And I was just like, couldn't like function. And he I fell to the ground, and he was like, rolled me out of the thing. And I was just like dead. So we did that. And then we would have, we actually had like a tournament, like a led up to like a grappling match. They paired you up with somebody.
That's cool.
In the troop, and I remember I armbarred the guy in that. And then we did some like a striking kind of portion as well. And then we had the same thing at the end of that. We had like a striking match with somebody in the troop. Like some guys got hurt, and Mitch, the old guy, 49, he got paired up with a woman in the in the class. I forget her name, but she was like teeing off on him like the whole time. He's like covering up, and she's walking him down like she could punch. And finally, he's just like, oh fuck, and he just throws one punch lands on her, and she just get knocked right the fuck out. And Mitch like started to cry and stuff, and I was like, "Oh my god, like, this is nuts!" Man. He felt so bad, but but she was like putting it on him, and he had to do what he had to do. It's it was So I think they stopped doing that because some people would get hurt. I remember the guy that I was paired up with. Like he threw a hook and I grabbed an overhook on his hook like that. And his shoulder was bad anyways. And when I grabbed him like this to hit him, like I bent his shoulder in and he was like, oh, fuck. Oh, and I like fucked up his shoulder. And if you get an injury like that, like they might kick you out, Oh,
wow. Okay. Yeah. Career ending.
Yeah. Because like I almost got kicked out for like I had this really bad foot sprain. I used to be a lifeguard and
hey, me too.
Yeah. But I didn't actually. I remember I did the whole course, and I got all the swimming done. Had like what is it called? Like bronze medallion, bronze cross. And
then, like nationals.
So I did the national thing, but then I didn't even take up a job as a lifeguard. I just worked on like a delivery truck. So I went through all that training and all that pain in the ass, like that course. And then didn't even do it.
Man, it was the greatest job.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm trying to think back because I can't remember. So.
Well, it paid more than like shit jobs did back then, and like you're just out there
chilling
in your shorts, hanging out,
making sure nobody dies.
Exactly, like, swimming and we do like these crazy parties, like toga party.
Really?
Oh man, it was.
What was I doing then, man?
It was awesome. Yeah,
I'm an idiot. So like I don't know why I didn't. Just throw in an application somewhere with that. Maybe I just hated it. I don't know. Like, but I was trying to be cool. Like we had this one pool day in our training. It was probably like halfway through. Oh, I remember it was November because this was like just before my birthday, and I wanted to show people like how to keep your head, like when you jump in a pool, how to keep your head above water. That stride jump you do where you kind of kick your legs forward and you're like in the water and you come like
break entry, I think it's called.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
So anyways, because I'm a fucking idiot, I jump into the shallow end and like as I'm kicking my foot forward, I slam my foot into the bottom of the pool and shit. I thought I broke my foot and my foot like ballooned up and I'm like fuck. And so that weekend I remember they were going to like the Riders game, like the CFL game, and I just stayed on base and just kept my legs elevated the whole time. And they did an X-ray that day, but it didn't find anything on the X-ray, which was good. But the sprain was so bad, eventually it formed like a nerve bundle underneath the talus bone in my foot. So shit. Like a big ganglion cyst. So I got pain in my foot to this day because of that. I'm constantly reminded of
how much of a dumbass I am. Where you slammed your foot down, I wonder?
I just think like the spray, like I think I remember the doctor explained to me that when it's a bad enough sprain, sometimes just a bundle of nerves or some kind of whatever will just form, and that's just it. But I just taped up that foot and like crazy. We had like a 5K run to do that following Monday. It was like a timed run. It was cold as fuck out in Regina, and so I was in so much pain. Like everything's frozen, like all my eyelashes and stuff are frozen in my face, and I threw up like halfway through the run, and I get back like finishing the run, I got frozen barf all over myself, like all over my face, my mouth, and I finished like one of the fastest times in the troop, like on this fucked up foot. And I come through the finish line, and the guy, this corporal that was running that was our PT guy. Like they love seeing that shit, like when people throw up and stuff. So he's like, "There's my man, right?" Because I'm like coming across the finish line, just full of fucking charf, and he's like, "That's good work right there. That's good work."
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, thanks. But because I remember one of the first times, maybe it was our first PT class. Like we were getting like worked pretty hard, and like living here and growing up, I don't think I ever drank any water, because the climate here is like pretty, you know, humid, you know. But you go to the prairie provinces and that dries you out, just like the air will just dry you out. So like I'm 19 years old and we're like doing like 10 to 1s or like some line, or like, you know, run, you touch the line, you touch like every line in the gym. And I remember asking the guy, he's like, hey, can I go get a drink of water? You know, like halfway through, and I got roasted. Like they roasted me, and they're like, Baird, aren't you like 19 years old and you're the first guy to ask for a drink of water? Yeah, and then like they just roasted me in front of everybody. I felt like such a loser, and I was so embarrassed. And I'm like, I'm never showing any weakness to these guys ever again, right? So like from that moment on, I was like, I don't care what happens, like, you know, whether it's like barfing all over myself, like I'm not going to give them any ammunition. So so that was like a kind of a turnaround where, you know, you're like this young guy who's like not used to like, you know, somebody like putting you through work and not giving a shit, like, you know, and then like, you know, I figured like I'd be at least a drink of water. Like, isn't it dangerous if I don't have like a drink of water, if I'm really parched or something, dude? Like, come on, you know?
Yeah. You would die out here, man.
Yeah, but they did not give a shit. They just like made fun of me forever for it, right? And you know, so yeah, being like the youngest guy there,
I bet you get heard pretty quick. Someone's burning you for asking for water.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like well, I mean that's the move, you know. Like if you get embarrassed and then and you don't own it, then it's just gonna crush your ego, and then you're gonna be self-conscious then, and
oh, I bet, yeah.
Like deal with confidence issues or whatever. But
you
your
balls broken. You gotta accept it.
Yeah.
Back to the training for you guys. You like when I was in Taekwondo, I was probably like 17. Our instructors used to do self-defense training for the RCMP.
Oh yeah,
it was like one of the gigs they did. So I was waiting for class to start, and I could see them. They were doing it in the parking lot.
Yeah,
and I was blown away because they were like, grab my wrist, you know, and we used to do self-defense on Wednesday nights, and it'd be all like, grab my wrist, you know, and twist around. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, even then, I could tell that
they teach some bullshit.
It's like magic, you know. We were talking about that, like people used to believe martial arts were like magic. It's like, oh man, his chi is so strong, you know. So just watching that, like, then they go out on the street and deal with like hammered people.
You know? It doesn't work, man. Like because you get in this, like you get into the training culture, and people get used to the moves being practiced on them, so they kind of become like grappling dummies, where they just accept that, like they put in a certain move and then they react the way that they're supposed to react. But you try that on a big old drunk guy on the street, he's not reacting the way he's supposed to react, you know. In a training situation, right? Like there was this one move, I can't remember this arm lock, but this was my, I was like, oh yeah, this is my move that I'm gonna, because they taught me this like standing arm lock where you kind of it's like maybe like a double wrist lock, chicken wing type thing, when somebody's being resistant and you want to get their arms behind their back. And so I can't remember how it went, but I'm like, oh yeah, it's gonna be my move when I get on the street. I'll just put guys in that, and like no problem, right? So I came home for Christmas. We had some time. They gave us like like 4 days off or something for the holidays, and so I came home here, and I was drinking in the basement with my buddies from high school, and one of my buddies, I was like, yeah. And they're like, yeah, you got any like moves, like stuff? I was like, guys, I got tons of moves. I was like, I'm gonna like, let me show you some moves.
Buckle up.
This is like, this is my fucking main secret move here, and I'm gonna like, I'll just show you how it goes, right? So I put like one of my buddies is like pretty big dude, and I put him in that, and I have his arm up like this, and then he just punches down like that when I got him in that arm lock, and he my arms like got like twisted up, and I got like shooting pains, and I like collapsed to my knees, and I went, oh, you know, like, and he's like, is that the move? And I'm like, yeah, I guess, yeah, that was the move, you know. I was like, okay, I guess that's bullshit, you know. Like, if you can't do it on an untrained person, and his natural reaction was, I got a hold of his arm. Well, he's just gonna tense up and like and just flex out of it, you know.
Yeah,
and that's all he had to do, and I remember just like getting like crazy pain from it, you know. So
I had a buddy who did judo, like right up through high school.
Yeah,
and
now judos should be like what cops.
Oh
like,
man,
learn, right?
Well, he was like, "Do you want to grapple?" I was like, "Yeah." You know, I do taekwondo. We do self-defense night on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I ever got tossed.
Yeah.
And he knocked all the wind out of my body.
Terrible.
And he could have just did whatever. He could have shaved my head on the spot. Like it was.
Yeah.
And that taught me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, man, wow. Yeah, it was. I think he hip tossed me because I was trying to grab his wrists, and he just tucked his arm under my under my armpit and tossed me. Man, it was eye opening.
Like the only times I've been like gotten hurt by guys in the gym is like from like judo stuff where you're loaded up with a hip toss.
Yeah.
And then and you just kind of let them do it, and then but yeah, that like I've almost got knocked out, like hitting my head off the mats and stuff, like getting tossed like that. But yeah, judo is like super.
Just hitting the earth off of somebody is my other buddy who stuck with judo. He lives in Ottawa now, but he stuck with it and his kids were in it. He's like a short guy, like 5'6".
Yeah.
And like big mouth forever. So, but I remember in high school him slamming people down, like, you know, behind the school and stuff like that, and like bodies people.
But even wrestling, like you can spike guys wrestling and stuff and like slam them, but for the most part, it's, you know, it's like a controlled takedown.
Yeah.
But that judo, that like the momentum that it's just based off of, like those throws, like the throws are terrible for your body. All those old judo guys are broken up.
Oh yeah, man, getting slammed down.
Up, you know, like
it's crazy how beautiful it looks though when they load somebody up. It's so smooth, and they get down on one knee, and you know,
like those Olympic level Japanese like judokas and stuff.
That's fun to watch.
Yeah, yeah, like they like that, like some of that stuff you see in slow motion is like spectacular stuff, you know, and crazy dynamic. But yeah, if you knew if because I mean in policing, like your hands like should be up like most of the time when you're talking to people.
Okay.
You know, they teach you to kind of keep your hands up. So even when you're taking notes, your hands are up and you're ready to go. Like, you know, just deal with what you got. So a lot of those, when you got to latch on to somebody, it all starts from like underhooks or like, you know, grabbing an arm, like putting your hip into them. Like all that is like from that kind of judo, like positioning, you know, like, you're not really going to, drop down and hit it like a double leg on somebody, you know, especially when you got the belt on, you got a big vest on, everything's like very constrictive. It's not easy to move and that kind of stuff. And you're wearing like combat boots too. So, moving around in all that gear, I don't know, how much it all weighs, but I mean, it's probably like an extra 30 pounds that you got on, you know? So
it's a workout. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
restrictive.
Yeah. Like I remember the first time I jumped the fence with my gear on and I was chasing after a guy, and like I jumped over the fence, and he was like a fast kid, and he took off and just rounded a corner, and I lost him, because that's like as soon as you lose sight of somebody and they round a corner, like even from a safety standpoint, to continue like chasing after that person, you don't know if they're waiting like around that corner with a knife or something like that. Like you got to then kind of slow down, and that's usually when you'd call like a canine and set up a perimeter. But I jumped this fence and I go to land on the other side with my feet, and my feet just collapse from all like the extra weight, and I just landed right here, and I landed on my side, and there was a big old pile of dog shit. Like I was like looking at a pile of dog shit like that, and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, you know? And so like I would rarely run after anybody, you know. Running after people is always kind of a double-edged sword because, you know, like it's that balance. Like if that guy jumps a fence, okay, well, is he waiting for you to jump the fence on the other side? And then he's gonna like start poking you up with some kind of a knife, and then if you run after somebody and you catch them and you're gassed, like are you then prepared to fight like after you're totally gassed from a run? So you never want to. So a lot of times the bad guy will be running full tilt, but you don't want to run full tilt. You want to run at like 80% or something, you know, if in a foot chase.
Have something in the tank.
Yeah.
So what would you do if you didn't chase them? I guess you'd have to call in people to head them off, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so like you call in extra units, and then you set up a perimeter in the area. Everybody's got their lights on and stuff, and so you kind of box off like the area in that neighborhood or wherever it was that the person took off from you, and then you'd wait for a police dog unit to show up, and then they'd start a track, you know. So,
oh, gotcha.
And then you don't want to run after the guy after you've lost sight, because then you're ruining the dog track as well. So you want to, as soon as you lose sight, you should hold that position and wait for the dog to come and figure it out. So that's the best thing to do. I worked with a guy one time where he comes over the radio and he's in a foot chase with a guy, and like screaming on the radio and stuff, and you can tell he's like super gassed already, just like, and that's the thing too. If you're running after somebody, you can't deliver like clear and concise radio communication to tell people where the fuck you are and what's going on. That's bad too. So I roll up, and when I find him and the bad guy, they're like probably 5 feet away from each other, and they're both looking at each other. They're both gassed, and they got their hands on their knees, and they're both looking at each other like, you know. And it's like, you know, you caught them, but now you got to fight them, and both of you are too gassed to fight. So, you know, I get out and I'm like, here, buddy. Like, you know, are you okay? Yeah. And I'm like, come with me, dude. And I like latch that guy up. He's like, oh, you know, but it's like, you know,
so, is there a standard to keep when it comes to like physical fitness?
No.
Do you have to? No. Okay.
Zero standard.
Jeez.
Zero standard.
That's dangerous.
Yeah. Bad. Yeah. Like you don't even have to pass the physical, like the physical test they do. It's like this little obstacle course. And it's not a difficult obstacle course. It's basically designed for people that, you know, like anybody can, as long as you're not in a wheelchair, like you're going to pass this obstacle course.
Jeez,
you know?
Wow.
And so it's not a difficult thing to do. And even that, like it's the obstacle course is difficult if you really put everything you got into it. But I mean, like a guy that is like relatively fit can like run it at like a brisk pace, and even like a jogging kind of pace, and not have any issues, you know. So but they don't even maintain that standard once you've graduated from training, you know. So
is there like a culture where people are like, you know, you should probably trim down, you know, or
yeah, I mean, like I mean, you're chirping guys that are getting a hot bag every day for lunch, you know, and you're like, dude, like, you know, you're my lifeline, you're my backup. If you turn into a fat piece of shit, and you know, I'm in a brawl with somebody, you know, I don't want you coming in with like greasy McDouble fingers and like, you know, not being able to like fight for a couple minutes, you know. So but yeah, I mean, there's like the social pressure, but beyond that, you know, even that social pressure, then now in these kind of days, then you're getting into like workplace harassment. So like, you know, like
yes.
you're chirping somebody for being, you know, lazy or out of shape. Then, so now you're just one complaint away from, you know, getting your pee slapped, you know, maybe get some pay docked for.
It's wild, man. Cause like, again, just as a civilian looking in, it's like, seems like they should probably do jujitsu at some level.
Oh yeah,
maybe a blue belt.
Sure.
And like, or judo or wrestling,
Sure.
and like be in shape.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, my thought is like that should come at the application process, especially in today's day and age. Like, I know like it wasn't really jiu-jitsu wasn't popular when I was going through, but in today's day and age, I mean, there's so many clubs around that I think that they should at least require a reference from a martial arts instructor on your application. Like, you should have some kind of martial arts training.
Yeah.
So like if you like a blue belt minimum, like if in your application process, like you need a blue belt from a reputable gym with a reference from a coach, like on that application. So whoever's doing your application, contact, like, you know, say the head guy of our gym and just say, hey, is this guy like a good guy? Like, you know, because I mean, coaches that run martial arts gyms, especially like jiu-jitsu, I mean, they got a pretty good beat on like who good people are.
Absolutely.
And if they got good composure. So, I mean, you find out real quick in jiu-jitsu if somebody has composure or not. And so, I mean, like our coach could give a reference and be a great reference for the police to determine if somebody's worthy candidate or not. You know, I'm sure there'd be people where he'd be like, no, he's like, yeah, I don't know. Like he's got a lot of like work to do as far as like, you know, keeping composed in a fight. And so the guys that, anytime I see guys using like too much force, like on a video on the internet or whatever, it's always guys that don't know how to fight.
I can see that, probably afraid.
They get afraid and they get nervous, and then the nervous thing to do is to try to end the fight as quickly as possible and like punch a guy in the face because you think that's gonna work, and then all of a sudden you're on the news for like battering some like old lady or some disabled person, you know, with a stupid punch that hadn't been thrown because you're so terrified of getting in a physical altercation because you don't have the skills to maybe like get up off your back. Because I mean, the worst thing that can happen as a cop is you get put on your back. So when you got all that gear on, you got like the big vest on, you got your belt, especially with the vest, the belt is restricted for your hips. So like, you know, even like trying to pull full guard and like maintain a full guard with that belt around your hips, really restrictive for your hip like flexibility and articulation. So
man, that'd be stressful.
So yeah, you don't want to get put on your back at all, you know. So somebody puts you on your back, then they have access to everything on your belt, you know. So and then you're just fucked. So
how does it work with the training with firearms? Like, is it just aiming and knowing your weapon, or is it tactical? And
yeah, well, when I first went through, it was just marksmanship. It was just aiming.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've evolved a little bit over the years where they'll have some moving and shooting and whatnot. But I mean, it's really rudimentary stuff. You know, they should have some marksmanship because you got to know, you need the fundamentals of shooting down. You know, like grip is super important. Your trigger pull is super important. Maintaining that front sight, you know, stance is another one that's important, but not, but if you're in any kind of real life shooting, your stance is going to be wonky. It's going to, you know, it's probably going to be the last thing you're thinking about, you know, but those three things in particular, like your grip, your front sight, your trigger pull, like you should really nail those things down. And marksmanship type shooting is what you really build those fundamentals with. But the reality of shootings in policing is that most of them happen within like 10 feet. I think there's FBI studies that show that they're even closer than that. So really it's about getting the gun out of your holster as quick as possible and firing the shots off as quick as possible. So,
gotcha.
You know,
I guess it's not the standard that the perp is also shooting at you.
That could be, yeah. And that's a whole another like stress, right? And they don't, you know, I mean, most places don't teach you how to shoot in pairs. Like if you're in a shooting and you're in some kind of a gunfight with a guy, you all fire off your magazine at the same time, and you're all reloading at the same time. That's problematic too. So you don't want to, because if you're in a a gunfight and you have more numbers than the person you're, because I mean, cops aren't getting in gunfights with multiple people. It's very rare. It's usually one shooter. So if you have, so most times you should have superior firepower, but yeah, and that's the thing. Like if the first thing anybody kind of notices when you're in that chaos of a first shooting is that everybody dumps a mag and then everybody's taking cover and you know, reloading at the same time. Meanwhile, that gives that person an ability to fire back and have that kind of dominance over that firepower dominance. So you want to maintain like constant like shooting pressure on somebody that is maintaining cover. You know, somebody's always got to have like a mag loaded and at least have that wherever that person's position is to have that like a round ready to go off as soon as they peek, you know? So, so that, yeah, but that is stuff that's not taught, which is, you know.
So how do you learn it?
You don't.
Okay.
You don't, man. You don't.
Hope
so, I mean, that's like, you know, like military style shooting and, but the police don't learn that stuff. I mean, you know, especially like anything. I mean, the shitty thing about like our gun laws here, where they did a pistol ban, like the local force here, they don't even allow you to take your pistol home, so you can't even train with your own pistol. You can't go to the range and buy your own ammunition to practice. So the only time when you ever shoot that pistol is a yearly qualification. So you shoot that pistol like once a year.
Jeez,
you know,
that's crazy.
Yeah, because really crazy. So, so in the RCMP, I had a Smith & Wesson pistol, and here I had a SIG P226, and it's a 40 caliber pistol, and so the Smith & Wesson was a 9mm, but that was the only pistol I'd shot. And then I was going to buy my own pistol, and then the ban happened, because I wanted to maintain my skills, because I felt my skills like dropping off, because I have to practice all the time to be good at shooting. But then the pistol ban happened, and you couple that with the local force being so crazy restrictive on not allowing you to even take your pistol home and practice yourself. That's even wild. Just dry firing, like dry firing is really good practice. With that SIG, I shot that SIG 5 times or 5 or 6 times over the course of the years that I was with the local force here. Like, how pathetic is that? You know,
that's crazy.
So I didn't even have an ability to be proficient to the end. And for me, that had to work so hard to get good at shooting the pistol. Like in the RCMP, like I'd have that pistol on me all the time. Like at home, I'd be dry firing with it, and then on my days off, I'd go to the range and practice. And so then to transition to another pistol that I'm not even allowed to shoot, like you just see that all that skill that you built up over the years. Like I can get it back, but it just declines, you know?
Yeah.
So really, really stupid stuff. Really.
Do you think they're going to turn that ban around?
Yeah, I think so. Like if the conservatives get it, yeah, for sure. You know, so it's a no-brainer.
Oh man, yeah. We go to North Carolina and Florida a fair amount. Yeah. And whenever we're there, I'll go to the range because you can shoot everything. Yeah. And spot in Florida called Machine Gun America. Yeah. You can shoot like M9s and it's a blast. Yeah. Or what was it? Might have been an M4.
Beretta M9. Is it like so? The M is like the United States military's like classifications of like a certain kind of guns, but like the M4 carbine, like that's like a C8 carbine. So in Canada, it's like a Colt C8. Like they're like the same gun. It's all built off the AR-15 platform. But
it was stubby. I remember that.
Yeah,
and it was a blast.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The charging handle was like this. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, so yeah. I mean, if you go to the range and like guys that are pistol owners at the range, and they're licensed gun owners, they're all nerds, man. Like these people aren't like bad people commit crimes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So the people that take the time to get that restricted license and they just want to take it to the range and shoot it and get good at it, because pistol shooting is the hardest form of shooting out of the three. Or like, so when you think of like carbines and rifles and shotguns and stuff, I mean, doing technical stuff with those things is difficult, like room clearing and all that kind of stuff. But shooting with them, like, they're very accurate guns, and you know, you're not dealing with like the pistol is you're trying to control an explosion that is at like the end of your hands like this. So, and like any kind of like grip that's odd, or you're over gripping, you're under gripping, those rounds are gonna be traveling. Because if I over grip on that gun, then my rounds will pull to the left. If with my right hand, or if I'm over gripping with my left hand, then those rounds will drift to the right. Like it gets like it's really hard to shoot a pistol accurately at like 25 meters. So you got to practice to get used to controlling that explosion and not anticipating the explosion as well at the end of your hands, and that's unnatural. So so pistols are something that.
So what does anticipating the explosion do?
So if I'm aiming down the sights and I know as soon as my finger comes back and that bang goes off, that's a problem that a lot of people struggle with. Well, they'll anticipate that, and to anticipate that, they're kind of fighting that explosion,
pushing forward.
Yeah. So then their rounds can drop low.
Gotcha.
You know, so or they could go high depending on however they're reacting to it as well. But so yeah, that's something that you got to train yourself out of. Like if you're at the range and you got a mag with a bunch of rounds in it, some guys will throw like dummy rounds in with their magazine. So when the dummy round goes off, I mean, in a perfect world, like you're going bang, bang, and then that dummy round goes off and you pull that trigger, your hand shouldn't move, you know? So,
gotcha, okay.
But, and you'll realize how much you do anticipate when that dummy round goes, or when you go to pull the trigger on that dummy round and nothing happens, and you go like this and you're like, holy fuck, I got a lot of work to do, right? Yeah. So, it takes work, man. It takes a long time. Some people get it right off the bat, but I never. So,
yeah, we when it was legal, we did a bachelor party. We went to the range, and they had a bunch of guns there. Like I think we fired a Glock and then like a 1911, and they were enjoyable. Yeah, you know, if you get a little bit of kick.
I love 1911s. Yeah,
yeah, they're beautiful guns. Yeah, but the last gun was a Desert Eagle, and man.
I've never shot one of those. Yeah, it's 50 caliber.
So we're all standing up there in our shorts during the summer. Yeah, and my buddy Farrell goes up first and fires this thing, and a fireball came out of the end, and all the hair on my legs just went, and I was like, "Holy shit!" And the gun, man, it came straight up. Yeah, and I was like, "Man, yeah." I gripped that thing and I was like shaking. I was like, all right.
Yeah, those are silly guns. I don't know what the purpose of a Desert Eagle would be, like in any kind of like a practical sense, but those are crazy guns.
Yeah, it seems like if you had to fire it, it'd be a terrible time. Yeah, it's like an elephant gun and a pistol. Yeah. I apologize, man. Saturdays are a whirlwind for me.
No problem.
We got kids everywhere, but I'm happy we got to sit down and pump one out.